Now, sadly, to refer back to 2010, you'll find now that the article has been buried from public view. Because if it is, without doing so, people will go, hang on, then why why has Luke been treated like a material witness? Why was he media cameraed and pursued and hostile accusations over the phone? It's simply aren't allowed. And I'm tired of these people going, well, if we're connected to this or that press, we're backed by the people deserve to know the truth, because you can't even get past why you and your Bible. I mean, the truth was, you would have been better off if the Lord had built you helmets in place of apples millennia ago, than for you to equate being inbred with created in a state of perfection, and now you're out to give people the truth. There's very good reasons why court cases spite the press, because the press don't get full coverage of what goes on inside courtrooms, but the press doesn't deserve to either. And instead you see what goes on in principle when there's a religious criminal active, like Fräulein Frazel in Austria, who had kept his daughter in a dungeon where he had incestuously raped her and in front of children for 2 decades. And the executives of these religious press companies are no different, because they go, well, by our judgment, we think this is what's going on. So yeah, but your own judgment is admitted to be conflative of created in a state of perfection with inbred, and inbred begging for the human sacrifice of any bilateral brain you can encounter. Spare that women be given any rights, or that apples be permitted to be eaten without guilt. So my dilemma is that it's not one of going and looking at 2010 and going, oh, was he lying or telling the truth? You don't reduce every single thing you look at to a true or false dichotomy, or you'll give yourself too many wrinkles. I think for oil of Olay, you go, well, what rights were infringed and by which parties? And they'll be the same parties to be burying their mistakes, like Rupert Murdoch. So if as a kid you're disenfranchised by a press report, and the cops and the courts are responsible for from you getting your statutory rights adequately met in terms of access to both parents and guardians, then the state has cut you off from, and in the course of cutting you off from access to both your parents, leverages the differences of the one against you while precluding you access to the other. And really, while in the meantime, either treating you like, and it's the statement, everyone pirates, I was taught by a police officer at Tuggeranong. I don't like that I was taught it, and I don't like piracy any more than, I mean, if I want to watch the execution of the 2 co-founders of Capital Chemists, why the fuck do I want to be putting their shitty drugs in my mouth when I was doing so in more plentiful doses as their employee, and now I'm injured, wanting to leave the country because of rights violations by corporate entities. have had more interesting places to go and people to see since for fucking years and years. Don't like living in Australia. Don't particularly want to be here. If you want to run a press inquiry, look into who my friends were in the year around the time of 2007. Look into all of that. Look into who was around near my, or who are associates and friends of mine, relevant or relative to my place of work. Check which ones are dead. Check which ones aren't dead. Check which ones are dead due to heart attack. Ones that would otherwise give character testimony of various kinds. And so, yeah, I don't want you to look at 2010 in terms of was Luke lying or telling the truth. I want you to understand that when you're disenfranchised as a kid and the state has deprived you of your statutory rights, then they've made you a cop, and they've made you a cop that they'll jail when they feel like it. It just depends where they are at in their inbred cycle, which is where it depends if they're going, well, we've killed Jesus and eaten him, and now it feels perfect to be inbred again. So someone's challenged our view. And don't say the AFP aren't. The courts now, and in particular the AFP, even the army would have come to me saying, given the cases that have been made that at the very least defame you, and at the very least defame people that you admire and trust. Here are your rights under those circumstances. What options should you like to access? Instead, there's been no talk of that. There's been, should we jail Luke for phoning 000? Now, technically, any threat to property, and that would include being robbed, but your capital chemist boss trying to get people to think you went off your face, which is the term that they know will piss me off your face. I'm more made up of cop influence than I am, sadly, of parent guardianness. Except that I don't have the same drug provisions, and now I'm been made to listen to this political babble about well, you're on the most meds that you can be on. I'm like, bullshit. I know that is double bullshit. It's bullshit because I've watched and served patients be on more and better medication regimes for pain. Bullshit too, because I'd been told I could, as long as it was scratch, as long as it was hygienically treated, still foiled, cancelled prescription product that was to otherwise go in a pharmaceutical waste bin intended for incineration, then it would not constitute the theft of a patient's medicines. Nor would it constitute unhygienic tablet to mouth processes, like eating a tablet off the floor, still in its original foil, still in its expiry date. So if you're taught that, and you're taught, well, this business can see that enough that it's having you appear in with blood noses. I mean, all they had to do was say we're Freemason run, biphobic as all fuck, and we have people lie about how harmful we are to the bisexual community. And I would have said, okay, look, keep that to you. I just got out of a church that might shake your hand. I don't want to work here. And that's all they really had to do at the start. And the other thing you have to wonder is, well, if you want to call and make hostile and indecent accusations over phone calls rather than to my face, that's been an experiment itself for people to see, well, who would be comprehensive or within a or be a backstabber, and go, well, we should require information from Luke's person through direct conversation. That's how I've always operated. As a result, the pigs and the courts have been at the pinnacle of demonstrating their, we love being grave robbers to broken families. And that on its own is enough, more than enough reason. And the tides of their threats and Roger Tall's mannerisms. And see, the reason why Fräulein Freisel was, they lock him away for incestuous rape in front of his daughter's children, of his daughter, in a basement. And they're all saying it's a shame that the life sentences that he'll die before he can serve out the term. Well, if you have that same similar thinking, and you've gone, well, we were all animals, God created us, so we're all inbred too, and it's all about survival of the fittest out there. You can get these people into conversations where you say, well, why is your view about that evolution hinders on the edict survival of the fittest not tantamount to let's orchestrate religiously motivated human sacrifices for profit, targeting the most divided families that we can find? And you'll find they come up with no good answer. Ergo they're not inclined to direct conversation. So the only real thing, the two differences between me and a policeman is that I don't use force, own a gun, and I do prefer burning Bibles than reading them anymore. Three differences. But I'm more influenced by them. So again, I don't understand now. And then the indecency of, now let's send the dispatch out to go, well, was his response true or false? Like, well, maybe I had to report a crime prior to this phone call that I got. Did anyone think to ask that? In any case, yeah. So I got the most double cupping after stripping down and it being made clear that I had no cords, no pockets in my boxer shorts, no underwear underneath my boxer shorts, and no means to stash anything anywhere. You get asked to hover the left leg upwards to the left and then the right leg upwards to the right as the respective testicles are cupped. But I said to him, you must be the real Christian here. Because I've already put it out in argument. You can't say that that the bisexual community, or what you'll view it as one community, a community of its rather than persons, when really the divide is religion and the fact that the church invented marriage. That's the divide, or else this LGBT community thing probably wouldn't be. You'd be admissive that it's categorized by marginalization relative to pro-religious, pro-hetero, pro-church marriage majorities, PC majorities. It shouldn't. I don't think personally. I don't think that when a police station or a police station watch house, and they'll say ridiculous things like, "Do you want privacy here in the watch house?" You got 2 cameras on you the whole time. After cupping your nuts, it's like, well, you fucking idiots. I don't know you a fucking thing except to have you explain to the magistrate how and why you think advertising that you're an operative institution that's religiously mandated to be opposed to the existence of my community doesn't mean that I should have to call 000 rather than call the landline number, the 131444 number, just in the hopes of meeting the odds that I might be occasioned to encounter an unbiased officer at the other end of the line. But instead I'm getting arrested and detained for phoning 000. So that won't and these press companies that are religiously owned. I think the day that Fox News, a news corporation, you see it 20th century. Why can't they use 21st century special effects on their favorite crime stories if Rupert Murdoch wants to make one and then bury his mistakes? Why can't they pixelate the face of a lookalike and steal some clothes from a target's house? I've pitched a puzzle on my Facebook that can only really be begun to be comprehended once you understand orchestrated targeting of targets that are targeted for the profit and the profitability of a story intended to be fucking caked upon their abolition, their destruction. So, I mean, what right do these companies have to say we deserve that the people deserve to know the truth when that's backed by an oath on a book saying incest is awesome? You can't even admit to being complimentary to why pedophile rings exist. Why, when you get the most honest of these pedos to go, but I really love these young ones. I really love them young. Like, one plausible explanation is that the Genesis story of Adam and Eve became heartwarming to them when they were young. Because that's when Adam and Eve's kids had to fuck each other, had to fuck Eve, the mother, and a lot of incest went on, and a lot of kids were being pledged to marry their siblings, and that's when kitty fiddling was called perfect at the same time. So if there's the truth scoop on that one, how dare these people say that they don't that their activities as press organizations are backed by any kind of moral onus to be heralding the truth to people? It isn't. They don't even have a philosophical truth sense of onus to themselves. And who knows? Maybe that's why they'll think indecent accusations over phone calls are a way to get at them. Maybe they should have prayed to me instead. I could have put them in a queue. And with the exception of my non-religious right, admire those to whom I owe more than my fandom. Really, anyone who is partaking in surveying my property, subpoenas are inevitable, and by the time it's done, they'll have nothing really to say to the magistrate, but the thought that they would spy on my alleged rubbish for me. Oh well, thanks. Where were you in January of 2010? No, that would be the one. I would have thought we'd keep an eye on his rubbish for him. Fucking dog shit system, and that's what inbreeders let them lie where they lie.